All right, folks. We appreciate you guys staying up to be with us. And honestly, I give you a lot of props because that game was hard to watch. I mean, normally I was just joking to Gary off air. Normally, when you lose a game in extra innings, especially 11 innings, there's at least something to talk about. There's at least something to be excited about. It maybe didn't go down the way you wanted it to. This game just sucked. It just did. And there are things that Yankees Unloaded, we hear, will tell you, but there are not as many things as we normally would in an episode because not a lot happened today. So, Gary, I already know kind of your thoughts on this, but I love Dave's comment. Alrighty, I've come for my therapy session. Well, the good news is this is a good baseball team, okay? Both sides. The Mariners are good. The Yankees are good. The bad news is what we were talking about yesterday, not really being worried about, the volatile offense. I'm not actually, Gary. I'm not. That's just a prompt, right? But these games are incredibly frustrating to put all of those runs into last night, and then you can only muster 5 hits, and you can only get 1 run across, which came on a throwing error. And, of course, the only guy that scored today was Pablo Reyes. I almost said Escobar because you have me going
I honestly
crazy
give you
over
credit
here.
for even having the name right. Jake, I mean, can we be serious here? I know that there were conversations about what happened with Aaron Boone with the ejection. The strike zone tonight on both sides, not just for us, was terrible.
Awful.
It was really bad. At one point, our home broadcast, and I thought they did a pretty good job of staying professional in this moment, they actually said, that pitch down and away that's in the strike zone, they're just not calling that pitch. And then the very next pitch was actually middle and down. And it was a strike, and they called it a ball. And he goes, oh, well, I guess never mind. That was actually where he was instructing Max Fried to make the adjustment. He's not giving you that corner. So you're going to have him make an adjustment and pitch to a different location in the zone. A pitch that this umpire, for whatever reason tonight, is getting, but he's not getting that corner. And then you see the adjustment, which is something that Max Fried's done so well, is making adjustments. He didn't have his stuff today. Just didn't. But the best part about this is when you look up at a pitcher and you see 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, and the storyline is he threw 5 pitches in the first inning. Everyone's wondering, oh, wow, we might have 8 innings of work here. He goes 16 pitches in the second, 22 in the third, 30 plus in the fourth. He was laboring. And a lot of times, guys, when you see pitchers labor or just arms in general stay out on the mound that long, the other team gets to them. Seattle didn't score either. This was one of the worst games I've actually watched. There was no situational hitting. I'm being so serious.
I know.
There was 0 situational hitting. I felt the New York Yankees could have started with the bases loaded, and this is not on Aaron Boone. To some degree, you just look at the players and say, you guys didn't have it today. When you have a man on second base and nobody out, and you have a guy like DJ LeMahieu coming up, and the first thing you're doing is doing what he did. You have Austin Wells coming up to the plate with a man on second base. No, man on third base, less than 2 outs, and you're popping up to the first baseman. You literally have one job. Literally. So to see that lack of execution at the end of the game, I think that's what so many of our listeners wanted to see. You're going to have games like this. There's no reason to get essentially your panties in a bunch that your team didn't show up to the yard. But later on in the game, when everyone starts to really get dialed in, you'd like to see some quality mentalities in the batter's box. We didn't have that at all. Nobody turned it on. I liked an at-bat we saw from Volpe. I know you text me about it. But when you get into those situations, man on third base, less than 2 outs, nobody out, man on second base, you need to have basic understandings in a baseline for your at-bats. The Yankees didn't have that tonight, and that's honestly, I can't say it's sad because we have one of the best offenses in baseball, but at the very least, we should point it out. They were dismal tonight.
It is funny how both Peraza and Bellinger win this game if it's at Yankee Stadium. They both had what would have been a home run only at Yankee Stadium in this one. So that was frustrating. But I thought, as far as good things to take away, I didn't have too many notes, Gary. I really just wrote down Peraza's defense. Wow. Like I thought, and I mean, I don't want to act like I'm wowed when I already told you it was really good, but he looked really comfortable today, even in the box. Like I didn't feel like he was over pursuing. I didn't feel like he was pressing. And I think that was one of the things I really wanted to touch on. And we don't have to spend too much time, but I liked what I saw from Peraza today, who takes over at third.
Okay, so you need to be comfortable. This is your new position. Yeah. You're going to be playing there a lot. For now, Jazz Chisholm's injured, and you're going to see DJ LeMahieu at second base. You're going to see him at third, right? B-Boss, they're going to sort of mix their way in, but Peraza now has a role. He can get comfortable. That's just part of what happens when guys go down with injuries, is that there's opportunities that come out of the woodworks. And sometimes you see a more comfortable version of a player when there's nobody behind him who can play. So did it make him better today defensively? I have no idea. But today he looked great defensively. And now we need to see that bat catch up. I know you've sort of mentioned he's made some hard contact as of late.
Every game.
And yeah, every game he's making hard contact. That's a good thing. But I guess where I'm at with this is my takeaway on this baseball game. It was a little bit disappointing. I saw in the comment section, someone brought this up. I want to throw it up on screen from Vinny. And Vinny, I appreciate you getting active in the chat. We really appreciate that.
And you read my mind. I was going to pull this up.
Yeah, and then right. And then Dave's super chat, we're going to throw you up as well. Vinny says, I disagree. And we're happy that you guys are sharing your opinions. This is good. This is baseball dialogue. He says, I disagree with Boone pulling our best situational hitter, and he's mentioning Paul Goldschmidt from the game in the 9th inning. So for those of you in that situation who missed it, or you saw it, Paul Goldschmidt gets drilled in the hand with a pitch. He leads off the inning. You've got nobody out, and everyone's thinking the same thing. How's Paul Goldschmidt going to get over to second base? He steals second base. One of the most athletic first basemen in this game. He's safe. Aaron Boone makes the decision to put Pablo in the game. And what that decision was telling us, we've got to score this run. Mm-hmm. That's the way they talk. That's exactly what happened. So what ends up transpiring, Boone knows in the back of his head, Cody Bellinger, if we go into extra innings, is going to slide over to first base. That's what we're doing. And long behold, we get a check swing from Anthony Volpe. And Pablo scores on a dribbler in the infield. So I understand, Vinny, your frustration not having our best situational hitter. And I know that's crazy to say, but that absolutely, objectively speaking, is Paul Goldschmidt. But in order to get to those situations later in the game, we needed Pablo's speed in that moment, and we had it. So I can't necessarily get on Boone for that decision. At least I tracked why he did what he did.
I'm going to test you right now, Gary.
What's that?
All right, ready? I thought that was a bad move.
Okay. Why is that?
No, you're supposed to say no. You didn't. You texted me. It was a good move.
Did you really? You texted me. You texted me all game today. I didn't know what you texted.
No, at the very end, I was just like, okay, this is boring as hell. Where's my friend?
So we agreed that
yes.
In hindsight, you're gonna say, well, I could have really used that bat.
Obviously. I understand the frustration.
Yeah.
But the way I saw it, runs were so hard to come by. I am the last person. Okay, I'm the last person to ever want Pablo Reyes in a game. Last. But I texted Gary right after that happened, and I was like, that was a good decision by Boone. It just was. They needed that speed. I know Goldschmidt can run, but I don't think Goldschmidt's safe there on that play. I don't. And I also think, the way, Reyes runs, I think he rushed that throw. I think sometimes just you talk about like Goldschmidt is faster than you would expect, but I think he actually makes that throw if Goldschmidt's running home. I don't think there's as much urgency because people don't look at Paul Goldschmidt and be like, oh, dude, that's a speed demon. People look at Pablo Reyes and they assume a guy that just came in as a pinch runner, oh, crap. Like, he's going to score here. I got to get this ball quick. And I actually think that caused the error because he would have been out regardless. I really believe that.
It was a smoke signal that we're putting our best speed out there, and he's not a speed demon. I mean, he's not Billy Hamilton.
No.
But the Yankees tonight, guys, just for some context, they were 0 for 14 with runners in scoring position. We weren't scoring.
No,
so
it was smart.
Is it ideal to have Paul Goldschmidt in the game at the end of the game? Yeah, it is. Of course it is. And we've had this exact same conversation with Jason Dominguez. They pulled him for defense. Then we get into extra innings, and everyone says, Boone, where's the at-bat from Jason Dominguez? We're facing a right-handed arm. You're telling me we couldn't use this guy? And then he backtracks and says, well, yeah, in hindsight, if I had known it was going to bounce this direction, but we needed what we needed when I made that decision. So I had no problem with it at all. And in general, I liked what Boone did out the bullpen as well. I know you didn't like Hill at the end, which I have no problem.
That.
I had no problem with that.
But that was Ausmus, so.
Right, exactly. So there's that. But you get Cruz, Leiter Jr., Weaver. Weaver went multi-inning, which I thought was perfect, given the fact his rest throughout the week. He was ready for that. The broadcast talked about it. He had his fastball. Cruz, I thought, dominated today. He was the Cruz that we were seeing a few weeks ago. That's the player we need. And then Leiter Jr., of course, was missing bats. So this entire game was all about being just baseball. And you can be the better team and show up to the yard. And if you don't show up mentally ready to play, you're going to make the same type of out all day. The Yankees don't usually do this. So I'm not going to say there's any smoke. Where there's smoke, there's a fire. None of that. But we can all admit the Yankees, for those of you who maybe this was your first baseball game you ever watched, you probably never watch baseball again if this is what you saw. This was just a bad baseball game. I thought from both teams, the Mariners very easily could have let this game get away from them.
They didn't play well. Both teams struck out 13 times. Both hitters pressed. Neither team had it. I thought, Brian Wu was much better than Fried, but Fried, at his worst that we've seen this year, has not allowed it to balloon on the scoreboard. And that is why Fried is so valuable, because when you don't get your best out of Rodon, it's a 7-run inning. You don't get your best out of Clark Schmidt, goodbye. You don't get your best out of any of these guys, really. So it was nice to see Fried really struggle. Like you said, he was laboring, and he was able to get through this outing. And he only gave up 4 hits. He only gave up 1 earned run. And I thought he was, pretty good. And if that's what Fried is going to be consistently, where at his worst he's giving you that performance, you'll take that all day. But, I have to say, though, I didn't like Ausmus's decision to put in Tim Hill. And the reason for that, and Boone easily could have told him, look, we're not going to go 2 innings with Devin, right? That I don't want to say that, I don't want to leave that context out. That easily could have been said. I don't know for sure. My rationale behind this is very simple, Gary. When you have a ghost runner on second, pitching to contact does not work at all. And there is nobody that generates more ground balls in the league currently than Tim Hill. He's 100th percentile. So understand when I say I don't even want a ground ball, let alone line drives.
Yeah, we don't even want weak contact.
I don't want contact at all. And so that's why I'm looking at Devin Williams, and I'm like, well, Devin Williams can miss bats. He can. When he's on, he can miss bats.
Is there an argument, by the way, Jake, that because you mentioned the contact rate, and I think that's just perfect. I think that makes a lot of sense. Is there an argument that there's literally not any other arm the Yankees could have thrown out there that would have been worse in that situation?
I mean, the only one that would have been, I get on Tyler Matzik, but Matzik can also miss bats. Like, we're talking about a guy in Tim Hill that his entire point is he's not going to strike guys out. He is going to generate soft contact. So I get the vision they're playing, they have 5 infielders and all that. I like that. I actually really liked that. Getting creative. I have no issue with that. But at the same time, just in my opinion, this is why Tim Hill coming back, as much as I like him, like the past is the past. Like last year, this is the type of guy they wanted. They wanted to pitch to contact. Well, this offseason, they go out and get Devin Williams, a strikeout pitcher. Now, they focus more on missing bats. I know Fried generates soft contact to get that. But in the bullpen, like going out and getting Fernando Cruz, it was a sign of the times. Like, okay, we're going to stop with our soft contact and go out and get guys that can absolutely miss bats. And we saw that with Leiter Jr. We saw that with Fernando Cruz. Tonight was an example of how really Tim Hill doesn't make any sense with this bullpen anymore. He just does not, because this is not a bullpen that is focused on the soft contact. And to be honest with you, that was always an issue. That was always an issue. And I'll say this, and I don't like Tyler Matzik either, Pedro. So don't assume anything. But the thing here is, Gary, you know who they really missed tonight? Loizaga. If they had Loizaga in this inning, it would have been a completely different game. I truly believe that. And that's why I think when Loizaga gets called up, Matzik, of course, will be down. But then when Jake Cousins gets called back up, and because he's coming back too, I think Tim Hill's gone. I do. And I'm okay with it because this is a team that constantly has an influx and just kind of chauffeurs out guys in the bullpen, even guys when they're succeeding. I think last year they realized when they lost that series to the Dodgers, that soft contact doesn't help. And they had it last year with a poor infield defensively. Now they have a better defense this year. I think we could all agree. And they've actually gone in a different direction. And you know what? I want to pitch to contact if I'm a starting pitcher on this team. We've talked about this. I want length. That's why Max Fried is going longer. That's why Carlos Rodon has started to go longer. Length matters, right? But then in the bullpen, I need missed bats, and especially in extra innings when you're talking about the stupid ghost runner rule. But you know what? Doesn't matter if I think it's stupid or you think it's stupid or Joe down the street thinks it's stupid. It's a rule that's not going anywhere for the time being. So to combat that, have guys that can come out of the bullpen and miss bats, not give up these soft liners. I don't care if they're soft. The reality is you have a guy on second. I joked to you, I couldn't believe that guy didn't score initially. Could not believe it. I thought that hit into the field, the first hit that Hill gave up.
I put my head down. I thought it was. Yeah,
I thought it was over. I knew it was over after that because Hill. I told you right away before he came in. I said, "Oh God, Tim Hill hasn't been good this year." And then I said, "How did that not win it?" And then I said, "Tim Hill sucks." And look, I was upset. I don't think Tim Hill sucks. But what the type of pitcher that I think baseball needs, especially in this situation, is not a pitcher that generates any sort of contact of any kind.
Yeah, okay. So you're essentially mentioning, because we talked the first 11 minutes of the show, we talked about situational hitting. And I think everyone that's listening to our podcast is pretty much all in agreement. The situational hitting today was an F-.
Yeah.
But what's on the other side of that? There's also situational pitching and managing. And do you put people in a situation that is necessarily their job? Isn't Tim Hill's job to provide weak contact, which you've just mentioned? That's his strength. If everything goes to plan, he's going to get a ground ball to second base or a weak-fisted ground ball to shortstop. And more times than not, when you give up weak contact, you prevent runs. That's his job. He does that well. The analytics suggest so. But when you mention that he's 100th percentile in contact, the hitter is always putting the ball in play. Why would you put him in a situation where he's got to do something that is not his job? So as far as I'm concerned, I feel like we just went to like an Italian restaurant and ordered a steak. That's how I feel. And you cannot possibly get upset when you don't get the results, when you put someone in a spot that's really not in their job description. So yeah, I didn't love that move, but I'm not going to freak out about it because do I feel that the Yankees staff as a unit today and management as a unit today did enough where they can look at the offense and say, you're playing the Mariners. You got to go win this game? I do. I absolutely do. And Dave with the super, Dave, thank you for supporting this channel, says, wanted to believe in DJ LeMahieu. Obviously, Jake, we got a big at bat. He got in a tight situation at the end of that game, strikes out. But in his two swinging strikes, they were not close. No, they were not close.
I'll defend him, though.
Yeah, I mean,
that pitcher is gross.
The pitcher's gross, but it is pretty ironic. I remember I tweeted, I was like, this actually seems like a situation that maybe DJ's not going to get the game-winning hit. I'm not expecting that. But what we need right now is a slapped ground ball to the other side. I think that would be be like mission A, right? Yeah, kill some bugs. And he gets up there, of course, and strikes out, being the high contact player he is, really encapsulating this game well. Just no execution at all. And this is just one of those days, I believe, Jake, where you just watch that baseball game, chalk it up to those guys stunk, and you're assuming it's just going to be a completely different ball game the following day. So I'm assuming that's going to happen. Vinny earlier talking with us. And then Vinny with the super with the 2 says,
Appreciate
big
you,
fan
Vinny.
of the channel, guys. Keep it up. We absolutely will. We're live every single day. And by the way, guys, if you're just joining us and you're new here, please make sure you guys subscribe. And of course, like the video, helps the channel out a ton. Jake, I hesitate to even, because I usually look off to the box score here and I see some bright spots and I see some names where I say, well, I like a little bit of what he did during the game. But I really think this was a nice little just combination of everybody one after the other just failing. They just were not doing what they needed to do. And I did feel there were a couple of times where Yankees hitters maybe had an opportunity to drop down a bunt, knowing the way the night was going, and they chose not to do it. That personally, for me, I know a lot of people think that falls on Boone. I think a lot of that, guys, when you're a baseball player and you know the job that has to be done, you got to take matters in your own hands and just read the room. Maybe drop down a bunt when you don't have it going. We obviously didn't see that, and I'm assuming they'll just swing it well tomorrow. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it was frustrating because they generated more guys on base. You know, they had 0 for 14 runners in scoring position. They left 11 on base as opposed to Seattle leaving 7. Yeah, today was just annoying, you know, and you know what really perfectly encapsulates a game like this?
What's that?
There's only one guy in the entire game, aside from Jason Dominguez. He also struck out 3 times. The other guy that struck out 3 times won the game. J.P. Crawford went 1 for 5. 3 Ks, but when he had his best was required, he just hit that slap single into left field, which regardless if it was fielded or not, that wins the game. And that's why I hate pitching to contact in extra innings when you have a freaking ghost runner. Anyway, did you ask this man to drop, or this woman? I don't know.
No, I did not, because I mind you
drop this.
No.
This is funny. We talked about this. We actually kind of argued about this a little bit. Not argued, but you know what I mean. Like we
talked about the concept of trying to trade for Paul Skeens, or I mean, really trying to trade for him. But as we know how this is going to go, and before we get and read this super chat directly, Paul Skeens is going to pitch this year. He's going to pitch next year, and then maybe one more season after that. We're going to creep towards arbitration, and the Pirates are going to say, you know, we are terrible. And Paul Skeens is pretty pissed off that we don't win any baseball games. He's also represented by Scott Boras. Yeah, we're going to trade him. And he's either going to be traded to the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, the Padres. Am I missing anybody, Jake?
Dodgers?
Boston. Who?
Dodgers?
They were first.
Oh.
I promise you.
I don't know if you're missing anybody.
This is the way it's going to go. There's really 5 baseball teams that are going to be in the running for trading for this player. And my thing was, what would you be willing to give up if it was possible to get him early? Because obviously you're talking about team control. Now, mind you guys, when I bring this up, and it's on the screen right now, so Alamara with the super with the 5 says, would like your guys' opinion. Do you think that the Yankees could flip Trent, obviously talking about Trent Grisham, and others for Paul Skeens? Now, no, that's 1. But 2, thank you for supporting the channel. I will say this.
Yes, thank you.
The Yankees literally would have to, given the situation where he's got 5-6 years of control, he's the best pitcher in baseball, by far. You would have to completely wipe away your system, and you would need to take probably 1 or 2 starters off your field. You're probably talking Jason Dominguez. You're probably talking about Lombard Jr., Spencer Jones, and it's a crazy package just to even think about. And what's even crazier about it, there's probably plenty of organizations out there that are like, we've got better prospects than the Yankees. There are quite a few teams out there like that. And all of those other teams, given the control here on Skeens, would also probably be willing to give up a lot of those assets. So, yeah, I don't think there's anything the Yankees can even do in their power. All I was mentioning on Twitter or on X, whatever you like to call it, is that it would be cool for the Yankees to be aggressive and be proactive and hop on a call and see what can happen. We saw Luka get traded to the Lakers.
Yeah, and then we saw the Mavericks get the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, which seemed very rigged. I don't know how rigged baseball is, but I know basketball is.
Isn't it funny
wild.
when people start saying, "Oh, you know what I want? I want the NFL or the MLB, I want us to have a draft lottery. Although I think the MLB now has the draft, which is insane. Have you seen? It was like,
I did see that the Colorado Rockies legally, and the Angels, there's 2 or 3 other teams, legally cannot even acquire a top 9 pick in the draft because they've done it too many times in a row.
I understand. I get what they're trying to do, and this is a whole different discussion, so I'll keep it quick. But I understand what they're trying to do, except I don't like Rob Manfred at all, and I think he's terrible at his job. But I understand what they're trying to do, right? The competitive balance. We've talked about this. It's silly. So the Yankees can lose Juan Soto, but because they signed like Max Fried, they lost their first round pick. They don't have a first round pick, but they can lose Juan Soto in the same offseason, and they don't get a
And if we didn't get Max Fried, they'd be like, oh, the Yankees are bad. Like if the Yankees didn't have this player who pitched today for the Yankees, right? If we didn't have Max Fried this year, where would we be? Probably sitting neck and neck with the Boston Red Sox at 500 or probably slightly below there. We don't have an ace. So I know Rodon's been great. He's been pitching like an ace. It's much more difficult to pitch that way when there's nobody behind you to speak of. So picture that. We lost a pick because the Yankees lost Juan Soto, and everyone's like, what are they going to do with all that money that they saved? They turn around and spent over $200 million on Max Fried, and they're like, oh, yeah, take a first-round pick from him. It makes no sense at all. And Mark with the super with the 5, thank you so much for that, Mark, says, would have been nice to have a clutch Oswaldo pinch hit today. That's depressing. I agree. Totally agree. Wasn't thinking about that. I was sitting there thinking about the game. No, but Mark is totally right. It feels the vibe of the Yankees right now. We have to find our way forward right now. It does sort of feel like we're in quicksand. We need another moment to kind of take us out of, really to get from underneath that cloud.
Yeah, I felt like they definitely could have used Oswaldo's contact bat today for sure. Appreciate you, Mark. Real quick, I pulled up the draft. I don't know why I did. I pulled up the draft order, okay?
Okay.
The Nationals have the first pick. Okay, so justice is served, right? The Nationals are not a good baseball team last year. Fine. Then you have the Angels, then the Mariners. The Mariners had the 3rd pick.
Why?
The Seattle, the Cardinals have the 5th pick, right? Toronto has the 8th pick. It's like, man, but you know what's, this is the thing that cracks me up. The Orioles have the 19th pick, and then they got 2 compensatory first-round picks.
For losing Burns?
For losing Burns and Santander.
Hey, guys, good news. You didn't spend. Congratulations. Here's this first-round pick that you're going to go draft a guy. He's going to come hit 264 for you. He's going to have a career year in his year 5. He's going to hit you with some arbitration, and then you're going to tell him to beat rock, hit the road.
And then,
you should never reward these organizations. They don't do anything for the sport.
No, it's a joke. The Dodgers, Mets, and Yankees receive a 10-pick penalty on their first picks for exceeding the 2nd surcharge threshold of the competitive balance tax.
The
what
Dodgers,
in
Mets,
the Wonder Bread does that mean?
Yankees, Dodgers, and whom?
The Mets.
Oh, so you mean the 3 teams that are putting butts in the seats? Are those the teams you're talking about?
Yeah, and say this 5 times fast. 2nd surcharge threshold competitive balance tax. Why? Like, this is what I mean. You're doing too much. Like, this is insane. This is silly. Oh, the Yankees really don't have a 2nd-round pick either. That's gone. They relinquished that because result of signing free agents who had received qualifying offers.
Okay. Well, I mean, the good news is the Yankees don't seem to know what they're doing with first-round picks anyway. We tend to do all of our damage in the international. So I guess take that for what you will. You can take it as a shot, whatever it is. But I'm looking at the talent on the field, and more times than not, there are not really a ton of first-rounders out there. So I'm not too worried about it. GF Double T with the 5. Thank you so much for the super. Says, love what you guys do here. Thank you so much for that. Personally, it seems like, and I think this is a good point here, Jake, that this team really struggles in extra innings.
Yes.
Similar to last year, just frustrating to see, frustrating to watch. I think we agree with that. And it comes down to situational hitting and also personnel. I will say personnel matters more than you guys would think. Remember, Aaron Boone didn't just become a more situationally aware manager. He sort of is who he is, right? He's not really going to change. Minor adjustments here and there. But you need to bring players in where you're like, okay, I need a ball slapped the other way. Do you have a hitter who has the physical capabilities and the tool set to do that? Well, Paul Goldschmidt, one of our pickups, does. He is the type of player who's willing to do those things. So I agree with you. Today is kind of a culmination of some failed execution late in games, another extra inning loss. But to some degree, you do have to look at this roster in terms of who's out there on the field and expect this part of the game to get better. Maybe not right this second, but by the time we get to the end of the season, are the Yankees going to fail situationally all the way till October? I personally have higher hopes for them than that.
Yeah, I looked at tonight's game, and trust me, I've had issues with the way they've closed out games. I've had issues with extra innings. This didn't feel like part of that. This just felt like today they sucked. What I hate is when the extra inning thing, you have a great game and you're hitting all day, and then extra innings come in and you fall apart. That is where the struggles come in. And when Boone makes bad decisions in those extra innings, pinch hitting. I forget who we pinch hit earlier this year, but put in Pablo Reyes, and you and I were like...
Oh, and we were asking for Peraza, and we didn't get that. But they were talking about, his contact against lefties during spring training. That's not going to help anything in terms of situational hitting. To be fair to him, though,
he scored the only run today, and he had the best at-bat in extra innings. He drove the runner over to third, and they had a shot. And to me, the biggest thing... Tim Hill was that was a frustrating call. And then the most frustrating call today was not bunting with DJ LeMahieu. I feel like they were trying too hard to be like, all right, LeMahieu, this is how you get a hit. We get you going. I think they were thinking about what this could mean for his start to the season and how they're kind of easing him in there more so than hey, you haven't hit at all. And now you're going up against this nasty reliever. We should probably bunt here, get the runner over to third.
Do you think he can bunt?
Yeah, of course he can. I've seen him bunt. He can bunt.
I mean, I feel like I've seen him bunt before. I'm not here to say that one way or the other. I
hated that though. You're gonna have him go up there and free swing when he hasn't had any at bats this year in the MLB.
I'm sure the way they looked at it is he's not free swinging. His job is to just make a productive out, which once it fails and you strike out, it feels like their attempt was for him to have this Derek Jeter walk-off moment. DJ, welcome back. Yeah. Thought you guys, you told me to DFA him and he's hitting walk-offs. Don't you know there were so many people, so many Yankees fans, and mind you, I'm rooting for the Yankees to win, and I'm rooting for anybody to be a part of why we win, but there are so many people who cover this team or just watch this team and sit on X who are just waiting to say, all you guys gave up on DJ. Guys, it's sports. It's not that serious. You relax.
He's had a lot of sack bunts, by the way. I just looked it up.
Has he really?
Yeah. Especially last year. He had a couple last year, and he was barely on the field last year. So they did use him in that. That's why I was frustrated, because I was like, I've watched this guy bunt before. What the hell are they doing putting him out there? Hey, this is your first at bat of the year. No big deal. You're going up against this guy who's throwing what I don't even know what he's throwing. He's just... Seems
like a better way to get acclimated is to do less and then just drop down a bunt. The 6'10 Stig, another interesting name on YouTube with the 5. Thank you for the 5. Says this is always going to be a 2-1. Jake, we agree with this because remember our pick with Profit X. So and we're going to get to those. Yes.
That's the only thing we nailed.
This was always going to be a 2-1 or 3-2 game with Fried and Wu. Offense didn't execute at all. Ump was ass.
Good Amazed for Boone, it took man. Screw that guy.
Boone till the 9th to get ejected. My wife literally saw that ejection because I was like, oh, I screamed, scared the whole house, right? And my family looks over at me and they're watching Boone. She's like, his breath must be horrible. That was what she said. And probably he goes, he probably doesn't even get that close to his wife, how close he was. He was freaking out, which rightfully so. The zone was not even predictably bad. I actually feel like it was a genuine Rubik's Cube mystery. Every single call, every time the ball hit the glove,
you had no idea.
You had no idea what was going to happen. You'd seen calls be missed in that exact location, and then all of a sudden it's accurate. And then we go across the plate. Oh, he missed his arm side. Catcher doesn't even frame the ball. Strike. Jason Dominguez, 99 miles an hour. Ball's at his shins. Strike. Take the bat right out of your hand.
See, that's a stolen
It can't happen
at-bat
in this sport. It
That's
is a
what I
stolen
call
at-bat.
it. So
Yeah.
I think Peraza did a nice job dealing with that. He worked it to 3-2, and of course, he had a hard grounder. But
Yep.
I saw that multiple times today. I also saw it for Seattle, so I'm just blanking on who exactly it was. But I don't like stolen at bats. That's when the umpire is giving a pitcher something that he didn't earn, and I have an issue with that. So. Yeah, I'm glad Boone talked to him. I could not stand that guy, by the way, when he was like, get out of here. No. I have one rule where I will always back the manager because you just threw me out of this game for saying words. You threw me out. You're a useless nobody. No one cares about you except for when you're bad. You're never good, but you're always bad, and especially tonight. So you're going to throw me out of the game when I have a job to do because I yelled at you. And you're soft, and then you're going to say that I can't talk back? No, that's not how it works out. Watch Lou Piniella highlight reels, okay? That's
What
not
would
how it
happen if
works
you just
out.
stayed out there? Would they just send a police escort? I promise you guys, if I was the
It's
manager, and I
considered
never,
trespassing, apparently.
yeah, I never will be the manager, but I promise you guys this. I watch managers for teams get ejected all the time.
Yeah.
And I always think about what would I do in this situation? I promise you guys, given how I am, because you guys never see how I am especially when I'm mad. If I was out there, I would make them send a police escort after me. I would be like, I'm not leaving the field. I would just sit there and just throw a tantrum.
I'd be like, you better get me a stretcher right now.
And I
like one
wouldn't
of those
yell.
Carts.
I would yell at them at first. That's fine. But once you say, get out of here, I'm literally going to be like, I'm standing here. So call the police.
Yeah,
I'm not leaving.
That was my thing. I never see an umpire say get out. Normally umpires, they'll bark back a little bit. I think a good one of this, Laz Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
He's good at that. He'll bark back, and then when he has everything he wanted to say, he'll let you yell at him for as long as you need to. That is kind of this unwritten rule as an umpire. If you throw a manager out of the game, you have to let them get their money's worth. But Boone went out there and he's like, no, get back. And I was like, what? No, that is not how it works. You tossed him before he even came out. So of course Boone was already mad at the call. And then you tossed him. And Jason Dominguez, as the broadcast brings up, is one of the most reserved dudes ever. He never says anything. And was like, what? It was at his shins, Gary, like you said. So, look, I will always say 100% managers deserve to get their money's worth. If you toss me out of a game that I put all this preparation to, I spent all day focusing on this. Keep in mind, your dad went through this. They're at the stadium a lot longer than 9:40 to 12:40. They were there a lot longer than that today. They were, batting practice, field work, all of that. And you're working on, he's doing interviews, he's doing pressers. I got Boone's back here. I got any manager's back. You throw a manager out, they have every right to yell at you until they want to stop. They get their money's worth. That's how it works.
I see. I'm throwing this up on screen. Shout out to Alex. He's the GOAT. He said, I'd love to see get into a petty off with Gary. Me too. I probably...
You just sit there
Have you guys ever seen the movie Get Hard with Will Ferrell?
Yes.
Where he comes out, he has the mustache on, and he's in there, guys, and he gets tackled. I probably am so petty, I would put on a mustache and try to disguise myself and sit at the end of the dugout with pina coladas and just be a nuisance to the game. They'd be like, this guy is so unprofessional.
What
but
if you
I would
turned
be
into
pissed.
the Bat Boy?
Right. it really would be funny. I'm surprised nobody's
doing
gone
work. You're like the Bat Boy.
Yeah, technically it's once you get ejected,
yeah,
they're
you're trespassing.
you're literally trespassing even being a part of this game at all. Just being in the dugout. I don't know where you can be. I know you can be in the clubhouse. But it'd be interesting. I would just sit in the tunnel. Just sit there so that they can watch me on the broadcast.
It happened to me in Babe Ruth, and the kid had to leave the area.
Oh yeah, because there's no clubhouse. Technically, we're just jabronis, and then the clubhouse is just you leave the dugout, and now you're just in the snack bar.
He was arguing balls and strikes, totally justified too. They were horrible. I'll never forget it. And the guy's like, "Wait, really, ump? Are you serious?" And the guy's like, "You want to say that again?" I was like, and I'm on deck, like waiting, and he's like, "Are you serious?" He's like, "All right, you're out of here, and I want you gone." And and then he's like, "I'm gonna get the town hall involved, and we'll get dude calls up security like in the middle of the innings. The kid wouldn't leave, like he was in the dugout, and then he had to leave. Like it was.
I feel like part of it of wanting to be an umpire is people go, I love baseball. Yeah, they're like, I love baseball, and I really have a dying need for control. How can I control a bunch of people who are more talented than me in literally everything? I can be a baseball umpire. Perfect. I'm going to tell a generational superstar to go sit down or to go away. I promise you, it's the most. I honestly have no way.
Syndrome much like.
Yeah, it's honestly such a joke. Well, anyways, let's get to the Prophet X. We were pretty good today overall. I thought. I mean, we picked the Yankees to win today.
Well,
but
we only got
also
one thing
had the under.
Right.
What else did we pick though? Oh, you took the K's, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I took the K's 5.5 for Fried, and he had 5. Of course.
Yeah, you talked me into that.
Yeah. Well, I like the under. I did like the 5 innings, and you know what? I think I'm going to go with old reliable here again. I like the 1 through 5, and I'm going to go with the under on. I'm getting 5 here. I'm going to go with the under on 5, Gary.
With Will Warren pitching?
We got 4 today. Oh, yeah, no, you're right. I was thinking more Castillo. Okay.
And I like Will Warren. I mean, this isn't personal, but he is facing Seattle's offense, who you watch what their offense looked like today. They look like this a lot more than we do.
I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go under on 5. Both of these teams, if you notice a pattern, their offense doesn't do anything until later on in the game in Seattle.
Okay. So we're going the under.
But now
Seattle to win.
I wanted to mention, remember the batter's eye comment, and you had mentioned, well, maybe something about the lighting. I think that makes sense. They're starting this game at 6:40 on their time.
Okay.
So by the time you're past the 5th inning, it's dark. It's probably easier to see. That probably
definitely
helps.
Could be that.
So I'm sticking. I think this is good as gold. I'm going to stick with this. Because I'm fine pushing at 5. I'm not going to do 5.5. I'll push at 5 if there's 5 total. If it's under, then I win. If it's over, well, happens. But I like the under on 5 total runs. And then Gary, for strikeouts, I don't know if I like either pitcher for 5.5.
Yeah, because I mean the Yankees are looking at this game as a bounce back. They should be locked in. I know it's Castillo. We may not score. We should be putting the ball in play. That shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I like Judge. I like Judge total bases over 1.5.
And J Station with the super, thank you for the 2, says Bobby Valentine put on a mustache after the ejection. I have seen that. See, maybe that's where they got that from Get Hard, because that happened before Get Hard.
That's amazing. But yeah, do you like that, by the way? Total bases?
I didn't even see it. Total bases for Judge, 1.5?
Yeah.
I love it.
It's 2 hits, or it's a double, or it's a triple, or a home run, and you win.
No, he's going to hit a double. He's going to hit a double tomorrow, or he's going deep. So I don't think it'll be a multi-hit game. I think he'll be walking, right?
Yeah.
But
see, this
when he gets
here,
that hit, it'll be big. Extra
total
bases.
bases is a perfect Paul Goldschmidt play. Like, it's perfect, because that's what he is. And I'm going to go, because we'll do dingers for the road. And I'm going to say I like what I've seen from him. They got a lot of stuff going on here. I like this. And again, you guys can check it out. Yanks U is the code. Sign up today. Prophet X. Gary, he's not on it right now. We'll be on it before game time.
B-Boss is hitting a bomb.
No, I'm saying Oswald Peraza is going yard tomorrow.
Okay.
I
so
like
you're
the
going
way
Peraza.
He's hitting.
Cool.
Every single game, he has at least one hit over 100 miles an hour. Today, his flyout would have been a home run at Yankee Stadium, 104.3 off the bat. I'm going to go with Peraza.
Love it. I think B-Boss plays tomorrow. I think DJ plays tomorrow.
I do.
DJ's not hitting a homer. If DJ hits a homer, obviously that would be a huge surprise. But I think B-Boss is going deep. I think he is. And obviously, we don't...
Wait, you do?
What?
You think B-Boss is going deep?
Yep.
for his first
He's
career
gonna
home run.
Yep. He's going to shock the world.
I don't even think he
Sometimes
plays, but
we'll see.
yeah, I mean, they kind of already told us LeMahieu was starting at second, so he's either going to play third or it's Peraza. But I think they're
I
going
feel like he'll play third. DJ?
No, DJ's starting at second. That's what they were saying.
So why did they just decide that he's a second baseman?
Well, I mean, that's
told
the
us
position where he
all-
should be.
They told us 2 years ago. They're like, oh, no, he's just way better at third base. He has to play third base. He has to play third base. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's not my opinion. It's what you told me. And then all of a sudden, he got 2 years older, and now he's got to play second base. Okay. Well, no, if that tracks, which I believe you, then we won't see B-Boss tomorrow. So my homer tomorrow. Oh, so YNG Squid says, when's Jazz back? Jazz isn't supposed to be back for like. Yeah, I don't
he
think
really
he's supposed
wants
to be
Jazz back, or he doesn't, and he's really.
back. Yeah, he's like, wait a minute, when's that fool gonna come back? He was hitting 160.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
How about this? How about Cody Bellinger? What about that?
I like it. And I also like that you brought up Cody Bellinger because I real quick wanted to just remind everybody that Cody Bellinger, for the first time this year, played first base at the end of the game.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
I enjoyed seeing that because I
He's
thought they
a
actually would
first
have gone
baseman.
with LeMahieu at first, and they would have moved Bellinger to left field.
I hated those days, by the way. Watching DJ LeMahieu play
no.
first base was some of the worst Yankees days ever. Horrible.
No, I mean, I wasn't like a big fan of having Pablo Reyes Pablo. Did I say his name right? Yeah,
Yeah, I
Pablo
think you did.
Reyes in left field. I didn't like that. That was like having Andujar in left field. Like, yeah, we're just gonna throw a guy out there, and I was just kind of more so. I understand it's not Yankee Stadium where it's like pressing, but yeah. But anyway, yeah, that is that, and yeah. By the way, DJ had a negative total zone. It's like DRS. He had a negative DRS at third. He had a positive DRS at second when he last played second. So I always thought he was a second baseman. I thought they were just trying to force him to be a third baseman just because he can play there and get through 9 innings with limited damage doesn't mean that I want him there because I'd rather have Ben Rice at that point. So yeah, I see him more as a second baseman. We'll see. Tomorrow is his essentially debut start of the year. But, yeah, that's it. So you got Bellinger. I got Peraza. We have the under on the 1 through 5 innings. And Judge, we have going for over 1.5 total bases. That's all.
Yeah, and drop your predictions of what you think DJ LeMahieu's doing tomorrow. He's going to probably get a full day's work against Luis Castillo, one of the game's best arms. So should be interesting what we see. Would be nice to see Pablo Escobar out there get some nice juice into the guys.
I love Alex. All right.
We're going to have T-shirts made with Pablo Reyes' face on it, and it just says Pablo Escobar. People at the Yankee Stadium would be like, what the hell are these kids wearing?
Oh, my God. Anyway, that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Drop your prediction for DJ LeMahieu's first start of the year tomorrow. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
And like this video.